Good morning, everyone. I'm Nancy Stout, the Academic Director of the Schwarzenegger Institute, and on behalf of myself and Bonnie Reese, the Global Director, it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's symposium, Government and Leadership, People over Politics. The topic of today's symposium is very important to Bonnie, to me, and to our Institute because it is our core belief that our state and our nation are at their best when leaders put people over what is best for their own political interests and their own political parties. As voters get increasingly upset and frustrated over political gridlock and hyper-partisan divisions, we will explore the causes of that gridlock, the causes of those problems, and examine and support the solutions. Another core principle of our Institute is that public policy is best when it is guided by empirical data, by science, and by research. And for this reason, we are very excited that our colleague and USC professor, Christian Gross, will present a fantastic study on the impact of political reforms in the state of California later this morning. Now, coming from the world of the academy and scholarship, I have to say that I think the Schwarzenegger Institute is quite unique among institutes and think tanks. And this is not just because our leader and chairman is Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, although that is, of course, one of the reasons why we're unique, but it's because our focus is a merger of policy and politics and academia and media. And above all, it's turning ideas into actions. And the way I see it is having a leader and a chairman like Governor Schwarzenegger, who not only plays action heroes in the movies, but he plays an action hero here at the Institute. He incentivizes us, he makes it all exciting, and the endeavors that we undertake are all the more action-related. We're so lucky that Governor Schwarzenegger chose to partner with USC. I'm especially happy that the governor and the Institute care so much about students. Students, of course, are the voice of the next generation. So we hope today, after each and every session, students will not only learn from the voices that we hear up at the podium, but also we can learn from the voices of you at the end of every session at our question and answer period. Now, we're also grateful that we've had such remarkable support from individuals in and around the campus, and I'd like to acknowledge some of the people who've supported us. To begin, Dean Bob Rasmussen, the Dean of the Law School, is here, and he's offered incredible support to me, to Bonnie, and to the Institute, so thank you. Dean Jack Knott, of course, he's the Dean of the Price School of Public Policy, has been incredibly supportive. He's not with us today. He's traveling with President Nikias in Asia, but he's also been very supportive. And many of our colleagues around campus and here at the Price School, such as Cherry Short, Elizabeth Grady, Jim Ferris, Regina Nordell, Carol Rush, and John Sonego have also been incredibly supportive of the Institute and of us. It's now my pleasure to introduce my friend and Global Director, Bonnie Reese. Bonnie is an extraordinary force here at the Institute and on campus. Having Bonnie taking a leading role at the Institute makes it more than a little bit of fun for me and for all of us that are helping to run this Institute. I've helped Bonnie navigate through the unusual world of the academy, but Bonnie has helped me navigate through the world of politics and the world of Arnold over the course of the last several years, and it's been a lot of fun. So, Bonnie?
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. Nancy is a truly remarkable partner, and I think we're not quite sure which of the worlds is crazier, the world of the academy or the world of politics in Arnold. We kind of do know, but it's close. As Nancy said, we're very pleased to welcome you all to our first annual symposium on government and leadership, putting people over politics. While the USC Schwarzenegger Institute focuses on many important policy challenges and solutions, continuing much of Arnold's work that he did during his 2 terms of governor, from climate change and energy to health and wellness to education policy to jobs and economic policy. Here at the Institute, we understand, though, that without our leaders being able to work together, without getting rid of hyperpartisan gridlock, we will not be successful in addressing any of those policy challenges. So the Institute is committed to an ongoing focus on political reform and looking at and supporting solutions and policies that make our government more competitive, more accountable to the people, and more willing to work together and put what is best for the people over what is best for their political party or their self-interest. We take seriously the first three words of the Constitution, we the people. We do this with a love of this great country and the founding principles and promise of this great democracy. This was a priority of Arnold's when he was governor, and his leadership and the leadership of a remarkable coalition of advocacy groups made possible the passing of significant political reforms in California. Ending gerrymandering and establishing a Citizens Redistricting Commission and creating an open top two primary were both passed by the people of California and are already having the positive impact that the people hoped they would. And now, inspired by California, many other states are looking to adopt these reforms. We are very grateful that many of these advocacy groups and leaders are here today, and you will be hearing from them later this morning. We are also grateful that beyond today's symposium, we will continue working with coalitions of advocacy groups and leaders that are committed to these political reforms and the political reform movement that's happening in this nation. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce a great man, the former governor of California, but someone I'm proud to say has been a wonderful friend for over 30 years. I was lucky enough and privileged enough to have an opportunity to witness firsthand when I served as his senior advisor and then Secretary of Education for California, his nonstop courage and leadership, his nonstop focus on putting what was best for California and best for the people, or as Arnold would always like to say, the golden dream by the sea. So please join me in welcoming the chairman of our institute, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, or as he is known at USC, Professor Schwarzenegger.
Well, thank you very much, Barney and Nancy, for the wonderful introduction. It's exactly the way I wrote it. Thank you. Anyway, Barney, she's our global director of the USC Schwarzenegger Institute, and she, of course, has been a fantastic partner. So I just want to say thank you to you for the great work in organizing this event here today, and our whole team for organizing this event. But at the same time, I want to say thank you for having been my partner for more than 20 years. And when you have been involved in when I ran the President's Council on Physical Fitness and with after-school programs, and then when I went to Sacramento as governor, you were there by my side. So you have always been a great asset, and now have been a great asset for the USC Schwarzenegger Institute. So let's give her a big hand for the great work that she has done. Thank you. Now, Nancy, I want to thank you also. You are academic director, but you have been a great partner, and you have done tremendous work, and I always love listening to you when you teach the students and give them this great vision and all that. So you're fantastic. So I want to say thank you for your great work also. Let's give Nancy a big hand. And as Nancy has already said, that Jack Knott, who is our Dean of the Bryce School of Public Policy, he is a terrific partner and has been very, very helpful for the Institute. He might be known here as the gentle genius, but we also have seen him as the action hero this last year when he went with us to Washington to lobby Congress to get some of the money back for the after-school programs, and he was very dynamic and fantastic. So we want to thank him also for the great work. And it's too bad that he couldn't be here today, but he's very busy with so many other things. But anyway, you also want to say thank you to some other people. Quickly, thank you to our advisory board, Katie Whelan, Ron Olson, and Bob Hertzberg for their great work. And we also want to say thank you to Mayor Villaraigosa for being here today. It's always nice to see you because you've been a great partner of mine when we try to take care of things here in Los Angeles. And I know the many phone calls I've gotten from you, sometimes at 8 at night, but sometimes at 4 in the morning. So it was we had a great partnership, so thank you very much for being here today. Let's give him also a big hand. Now, the Schwarzenegger Institute had a great year, fantastic year. We traveled everywhere from Washington, D.C. to South Korea. The message was always the same, people over politics. We hosted successful symposiums from everything from immigration reform to achieving a zero-waste world and protecting the environment. And we also went to Washington together to lobby for the money for the more than $1 billion to get back into the budget for after-school programs, which is something that I'm very passionate about. and we were successful. I said at our opening address when we started this institute that this is going to be an action institute. And we made that a reality with all the work that we have done. But I have to say that to me, all the things that we have done, I'm most proud of is that we have included you, the students. You, the students, have always been the most important thing to us. This is what this institute is all about. And this event isn't the state of the institute speech, by the way. It is just, I'm proud, very proud of this institute, but it's about putting people over politics. This is what this symposium is all about, and making government work again. The sad fact is that for all of those politicians that always call you young people the great hope or the future, there's just a few of them that are actually listening, to your hopes and your brilliant ideas for the future that you want and that you actually deserve. Our political system has let you down. The voting statistics make this very clear. I mean, if you think about it, that there's more young people around, but when it comes to voting, there's more old people that are active in voting. So what is that? I mean, there's obviously a disconnect here. The older voters make it very simple to just say, well, the young people just are not interested, or they're too lazy, they don't want to get off their butts and go out and vote and let their voice be heard. But I don't think this is true. I mean, I know the students very well. I've talked to them many times. I think that they care about their community and they want to participate, and they do. I mean, you have been doing all kinds of great things like getting involved with after-school programs, or saving the beautiful outdoor murals of Los Angeles, or tutoring young kids, working tirelessly for causes that are very close to your heart. So I know that you really care. So when they say you don't care, in Austria on a farm they would say Kuhscheiße, which means basically translated it's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, the simple fact is that our system has let you down. When Congress has a 10% approval rating, but 90% of the time they get reelected every year, then you know there's something off and it is a fixed or rigged system. When politicians say that they have to make hard and deep cuts and at the same time, gut higher education, but then at the same time they're sending $1.5 billion to Egypt for military hardware, then you also know there's something off. Or when one party demands that we accept the status quo of pollution instead of really fixing the problem and fighting climate change, and the other party forces us to accept those deep cuts, but at the same time pay for entitlements to state and federal employees, then you also know that there's something off. Or we can go on and on with all of this, if it's the bridges to nowhere, or the $500 billion in pension debt, in unfunded liability that is hidden away with tricky accounting, or pork barrel projects that never stop. I mean, you feel like you're getting kind of left behind. The system isn't working for you. But the good news is that there's hope. The good news is that we can make changes, because remember, let's always remember that we do live in the best and the most wonderful country in the world. The day you will hear about those great ideas and big ideas for fixing our political system. Now, I'm, of course, most proud of the kind of work that we have done here in California. If it is open primaries or taking redistricting power away from the politicians and giving it back to the people. I think both of those reforms offer us hope and taking back the system. Now we just have to do it nationally. And I think this is what this discussion today will be all about. But while you listen to those great leaders and reformers today, I want all of you also to think about one thing, and this is, what can you do about it? What can you do? First, I want to tell you, go out and vote. I mean, think about all the countries in the world that would love to have that right to vote and don't. I mean, all over the world, people would like to kill for this to be going to the polls and to choose their leaders. So don't take it for granted. And second, fight for what you believe in. Look what happened just now in the Ukraine. When protesters stormed the square to fight for democracy, and people died over that. They died, but they were victorious and they got their freedom back. So get involved, fight for what you believe in. You have the power to fight the status quo. No one can take that away from you. So today, you're going to hear from great minds, from Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski and the reform groups that fought for open primary and redistricting reform here in California. And I want to say again, thank you very much to them for being by my side and fighting for all of these years, because we tried 5 times and we failed, but the 6th time we won. But it was because of their persistency and because of their great partnership. So we want to say thank you to them. So thank you all for your attention, and thank you for always inspiring me.